Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya ayyuhal muslimun. To the long-time listener and first-time visitor, we welcome you to this episode. Now, without further ado, let's get into it.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد. This, what you just heard, is khutbah al-hajah. Naam. This khutbah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to recite it before weddings. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to recite this khutbah before weddings. In this khutbah, and it's called the khutbah of need, the sermon of need, there are so much guidance and so much benefits contained therein. But I want you to reflect on the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He repeatedly tells us to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first time khutbah al-hajah comes in Allah ta'ala's statement, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Allah Ta'ala, He says, what means, O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except that you are Muslim. Fear Allah as He should be feared, as we know, what is intended and meant by that is that we fear Allah Ta'ala to the best of our ability. Naam, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Fear Allah as He should be, fear Allah to the best of your ability. So Allah Ta'ala says elsewhere in the Qur'an, to fear Allah to the best of our ability. Naam, ala kulli hal. When you look at this ayah, and you look at the ayat that come after it, and that which comes after it, naam, and even that which is before it, all of this shows us how to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam, all of this shows us and gives us direction on how to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I want you just to reflect upon that and to think about that, inshallah ta'ala, and to ponder over that fact. We have to implement those things that were mentioned in order to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will say this khutbah in front of the marriages, because in the marriage we have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like everywhere else inside of our life. We have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I want you to reflect on the significance on why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to say this in front of every wedding. Naam. So that we can have successful marriages and successful marriages. Naam. Right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all of that was just a muqaddimah. Naam. Inna hadhihi muqaddimah. That was just a muqaddimah. What I want to share with you today And what I want you to reflect on is that when it comes to marriage and people's relationships and things of this nature, it is important for us to understand that one, we have to be good to one another, and two, things don't stay the same. We have to learn how to grow together. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his noble book, he says, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, and live with them in goodness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he uses the word al-ma'ruf, that which is well known. Now, so meaning everything that is good, that is well known to be good, that is well known to be from good interactions. This is how the man is commanded to be with his wives. Now, this is how the man is commanded to be with his wives. Allah Ta'ala, he says, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, talking and addressing to who? To the men. To be good to the women. Be good to your wives. Now, the ulama, they explain what that means. And before going on, I don't want the women to think that it is just for the man to be good unto them and they can act in whatever way that they want, whether it's good or not. No, they are also, the woman also has to be good to her husband. Now, if you want your marriage to be successful, you both have to be good one to another. All right? But let's get back to talking to the men right now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he commands us to be good to our women. Imam al-Kathir, he mentions, he says, ay tayyibu aqwalakum lahun. Have good statements unto them. Make your speech good unto them. So say things that are nice to them, not things that will hurt their feelings. Say things that are pleasant, not things that are hurtful and that would make them cry. Now, this is how it's supposed to be. Now, of course, not everyone always performs at the premium level, right? Sometimes we come up short. Sometimes we do things that we're not supposed to do. But it's important that we know that the default should be that we should speak to our wives in a good manner. And likewise, that our wives, women, you should speak to your husband in a good manner. Okay? Because we want successful marriages. We don't want this which resembles boyfriend and girlfriend things. You understand? But the kuffar, they have boyfriend, girlfriend. We go together. I don't want to be with you no more. I quit you. We don't go together no more. They do that over and over and over. It's light. It's cheap unto them. Muslims, no. It's not cheap unto us, this relationship. Okay? So it's important that we understand the default of it is that we are to be good to one another. So speak to one another in a good way. وَحَسِّنُوا أَفْعَالَكُمْ, and make your actions good unto them to the best of your ability. To make your actions good unto them to the best of your ability. Now, just like you want to be treated with, then you treat them that way. Just like you want to be spoken to, then you speak to them in that way. And this thing that is rampant amongst men, where their attitude is, just because I speak to you in this manner, doesn't give you the right to talk to me in that manner. Right? I want you to reflect on that statement. Just because I'm speaking bad to you does not give you the right to speak bad to me. Now, you know what? That statement has some truth in it. That statement has some truth. Just because someone is being ignorant doesn't mean you have to respond in an ignorant manner. Now, in fact, we are not to do that. But we are to return the evil treatment in a manner that is best. Okay? Ala kulli hal, I want the men to reflect on their statement, because if you realize that the manner that she's speaking to you is a manner that is not appropriate, and now she doesn't have the right to speak to you in an inappropriate manner, then by default, flip it back. You don't have the right to speak to her in an inappropriate manner. Okay? So just like she's supposed to, you looking for her to respect you, you have to respect her. Just like you don't want her cursing at you, you should not be cursing at her. Right? Now, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people out there right now who for whatever, long story short, I'm pretty sure there's some people out there right now that think I'm talking about them. Now, and I'm not talking about anyone specifically, but if the kufi fit, take it off, wash it, put it back on. If the khimar fit, sister, and it's dirty, wash it, take it off, get it right. You know what I'm saying? So if it's applicable to you, then yeah, it's applicable to you, and you the one I'm talking about. I'm talking to you. But I'm not bringing up anyone specifically in my mind. I don't have anyone specifically in my mind right now that I'm talking about. So I just want to put that out there for full disclosure, so no one thinks that they're being targeted. No. But the bad behavior is being targeted. So if you find that bad behavior and is present amongst yourselves, get rid of it. Get rid of it, because it's not acceptable. Yes, you're right. She should not be talking to you in a bad manner, but you should not be talking to her in a bad manner either. Okay? Ala kulli hal. Just like you want to be dealt with, then you deal with them. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He commands us here in this ayah to interact with them in a good manner. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, خيركم خيركم لأهله, that the best of you are those who are best to their families. And that means best to their families, brother. That don't mean just when you in public. That don't mean just when you in the masjid. That means all the time, to be good to your wife, right? Ala kulli hal, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said that the best of you are those who are the best to their families. وأنا خيركم لأهلي, he said that I'm the best of you to my family. I'm the best one to my family. So in the Prophet ﷺ, then there is what? There is an example. Naam, because it was from the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ, أنه جميل العشرة دائم البشر, that he was lived with them in a good manner, always pleasant manner. يداعب أهله, he used to play and flirt with his family. Okay, he used to play and flirt with his family. This is something that will help a lot of marriages. Speak to one another in a nice manner. Speak to one another in that manner that it's not permissible for you to speak to another woman, brother. Sister, speak to your husband in a manner that it's not permissible for you to speak to another man. But how often is it a time that other people get the best treatment, other people get the best tone, other people get the smoothest and the easiest of manners of speaking, but then when it comes to the spouse, everything is rude, everything is straightforward and direct, as if they're talking to an enemy, as if they're talking to an adversary. But then when they go and they're buying something in the supermarket, now they're talking to the cashier who they don't know from a can of paint in such a pleasant manner, smiling and joking sometimes. Wa'iyadu billah. Shouldn't be doing these type of things. Not with these women who are not permissible for you, but you should be doing it with your wife. Likewise, sister. Sisters do the same thing. Talk to their husband in the most rude of manners. Here you go for his food, so on and so forth, as an example. But then when it comes to the man in the checkout line, the nicest of manners, they're talking to him. Wa'iyadu billah. You should be talking to your husband like that. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to play and flirt with his wives. This is something that we need to bring to our marriages if it's not there. Play with them, smile with them, laugh with them, tickle them, so on and so forth, whatever it is. Ala kulli hal. The Prophet ﷺ, he was nice with his wives. He used to play with them. We know the famous hadith where the Prophet ﷺ, he raced our mother Aisha. They had a foot race. Now, played with her, had a foot race. She beat him one time and he beat her one time. Okay? And when the Prophet ﷺ, when he beat our mother Aisha, when he beat her in the race, he said, هذه بتلك, هذه بتلك. He said, this was for the last time. Okay? You beat me last time, I now beat you this time. So this is for that. Playful. This is how we are to be with our wives. This is how we are to be, ya ibadullah. It is not appropriate that we interact with our wives in a nasty manner. We come home and they get all of our frustration, or vice versa. No, we have to act with them in a good manner. But there's one takeaway that I want to highlight from the race that the Prophet ﷺ had with our mother Aisha. And that was that one time she won, and then the next time he won. And she explained that once she had gotten older and gained a little more weight, then the Prophet ﷺ, then he beat her. Naam. She said, بعدما حملت اللحم فسبقني. She said, after I gained some weight, then he beat me. Right? The point is that our mother Aisha, at one time, she was this weight, another time, she was that weight. And this is something that I want you to understand, because when we get married, our intention should be for life. Our intention, it should be for life. And with that, people are going to change. Not everything is the same. Just like physically, you're not the same person you are today that you were 20 years ago, right? Physically, you're not going to be the same person, inshallah ta'ala, 20 years from now than what you are today. People change. And just like people change physically, people change mentally. People grow. People grow. Their personalities alter slightly. People don't remain static. Nothing in this dunya remains static. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, لَا تَرُكَبُنَّ طَبَقًا عَنْ طَبَقًا. Allah ta'ala, he says, and you shall certainly ascend from stage to stage. Naam. قال ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما, he mentioned حالا بعد حال, meaning you're going to go from one situation to another situation. So it's important, if we're going to have successful marriages, that we learn to grow together. Okay? Look at the saplings. If I were to take two seeds for trees and plant them adjacent one to another, and then they were to sprout and grow, the sapling is not going to be the same as the adolescent tree. They're going to be different. They're going to look different. They're going to have different characteristics. Now, if they are planted in close proximity to one another, it is possible that they will intertwine with one another. Now, you ever see some trees like that? Two trees, and then they grow and they twist around each other, things like this? Okay, this is how the marriage should be. Is that we have to learn how to grow together. Now, so as one changes, then what? Because always in marriage, you have to be able to assess the person and see who they are, okay? And then you accept that that's who they are. A person's not going to change drastically just because you want them to. You have to be able to accept this who they are. If you can accept that and you can pivot, then you're going to have a successful marriage if that person can do the same thing. But if there's one of you that cannot pivot and adjust to the other, then that's going to end in divorce. Because you're not going to change him, sister, and you're not going to change her, brother. No. Okay? So successful marriages that's been around for a long time now, they learn to grow together. They pivot. They maneuver. They learn to understand one another. So with that being the case, you have to, like people always hear me saying, you have to look at the consequences. Try to look at the consequence of your action best you can. Look at the end. Okay? So before you get married, do not set your expectations up in an unrealistic manner as if who they are today is going to be who they are tomorrow. Inshallah ta'ala is going to make a little more sense. Just like, go back to the reality that you are not the same person right now than you were when you were in high school, for example. You know, I got brothers sometimes and they say about me, yo, I know him. We grew up together. I know him, you know, from when he was young, like this, right? But then if you investigate, but when's the last time you actually spoke to me? When's the last time you actually interacted? You might find it's 20 years ago. Haven't spoken or dealt with that person or communicated with that person, period. Not physically, not through text, not through email, not through snail mail, not through a postcard, not through a telegraph, period. I haven't spoken to this person in 20 years. Haven't seen him 20 years. But you want to run around and you tell people that you know me? You don't know me. You knew me, but you don't know me, right? And I'm pretty sure everybody can understand where I'm coming from, and you'll feel the same way. Someone you haven't seen since high school, they don't know who you are. You changed, not that same person no more. So, you understand that, how that works? So let me bring it back to something a real example that I hope we all understand. Sisters, if you're in a sit down with a brother and you ask that brother, brother, do you plan on taking another wife? And that brother in that sitting tells you, no, I don't plan on taking another wife. I'm going to say to you that you were foolish for believing him, and he was foolish for telling you that. Because none of us knows what is going to be our situation tomorrow. Things may change. The way I feel now may not be the way I feel 10 minutes from now. May not be the way I feel a month from now, 10 years from now. So although he doesn't want to get married now to another wife, he might want to take another wife 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 5 months from now. You understand? Does that make sense to you? So when you ask these type of unrealistic questions, you're asking someone to give you their state of mind or to express something about their state of mind 20 years from now, 30 years, 40 years from now. How can they possibly do that? I don't know where I'm going to be physically 20 years from now, let alone mentally. I might not even be here physically 20 years from now. I might be under the ground somewhere. May Allah Ta'ala give us all long lives filled with righteousness. But do you understand my point? So the point is that what? People, they change. So we have to be able and we have to adjust our expectations. How often is it that you will hear inside of counseling, he used to be like this and now he's not like that no more? Yeah, people change. Now, so if you could adjust to how he is now, then alhamdulillah, you stay married. If you can't, then you don't get divorced. Likewise, vice versa. Brother said, well, she used to be like this, now she's not like that. Yes, people change. Things change. Situations change. You may have had a wife, for example, who was very hardworking when it came to studying and seeking knowledge. Now, when you married her, she had no children. She was hardworking. She was seeking knowledge. She was studying. She was reading. She was. Now a brother comes and he says, well, she doesn't even read like that no more. She doesn't seek knowledge to the same extent anymore. Well, is her situation the same? Or is it now 10 years later and she has 6, 7 children and she's trying to take care of the house, take care of you, take care of them, help with homework, So yeah, it makes sense she's not seeking knowledge like she used to. She don't have the same amount of time. So why fault her? Adjust your expectations and understand. I understand why you're not seeking knowledge like that, because look how busy you are. I understand. So I want you to use that as a frame of reference, as an example, right? People change. So we have to learn how to grow together. If we want to have successful marriages, we have to learn how to grow together. But the whole time that we're growing together, what fuels our interaction with one another? Fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not acceptable that a person say, well, I just drink liquor and that's just who I am. They got to accept that. No. You have to fear Allah ta'ala. You got to change. Period. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying grow together means accept whatever. It don't mean that. It has to be upon khair. It has to be upon good. It has to be upon that which is loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That which Allah ta'ala loves and he's pleased with. That's what it has to be on. So it has to be fueled by the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, interacting with one another in a manner that is illustrative that you fear Allah. Talking to one another in a manner that is illustrative that you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But ala kulli hal, while fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to learn how to grow together. إلى اللقاء. نستودعكم الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.